Good afternoon. This is Joseph Romeo at Remax Executive Realty and RomeoRealEstate.Live with a special topic today, and I am excited to share that with you. So today we do have two new listings for us to review, but because we have that small amount of inventory to take a look at, we're going to carve out a little bit of time to take a look at some data that's pointing potentially to the future. As you know, we can't really predict the future. We can never guarantee what sort of market we're going to end up in. But by looking at specific variables in the market, you can kind of get an idea as to where we're headed. With the recent changes in the market, people may be concerned that the good times for sellers are over, that maybe there might be a flood of inventory coming up. And do we know the answers? No. But there is data available. The National Association of Realtors has been tracking data, and I do have some housing shortage data to share with you today. It's actually quite interesting. This was shared to me with me by my broker. Every single week, we receive new information regarding the market, both local and sometimes nationally, but we typically focus on our local market to make sure that we have all the most helpful data for our clients. And this is what we received this week, and I do find this particularly interesting. So this shows the difference between housing permits and new job creation. And a study was done on a national level only on certain metropolitan areas. So as you know, I focus most of my market on the central Massachusetts, although I do a good amount of business a little bit further east and southeast. But this is an indication of, I would say, the whole area as a whole, especially considering you're looking at the entire New England, New York, Pennsylvania area. It is all showing red. And let me give you an idea of what this indicates. So we are looking at the difference between building permits and new job creation. So typically we expect, based on national averages, to have about one new single family building permit for every 2 jobs. We'll get into the numbers for our specific area in a little bit, but I want to go over the key. So the dark red right here, that's a high housing shortage. Medium red would be a housing shortage. The pinkish color is need for more permits. Blue would show sufficient supply, and if it is this gray color, that means there's no new jobs, so there's no, oops, excuse me. I lost my page for a second. There we go. So that shows that there's no new jobs for the area. So on all these areas that are surveyed, there does show job growth. A good portion of our area all along the northeast coast is showing extremely low housing inventory. And there are areas in the south where it does seem like there's satisfactory permits for the number of new jobs created, and that is kind of spread throughout the country more or less. And then in the southwest, you do have this area right here, which has a high concentration of very low inventory. So this is potentially looking into the future because you have new jobs that are created. When there's a bunch of new jobs that are created, there is, in theory, a potential need for housing for the employees. And with all the new jobs created, if the new single family permits do not catch up, then that means houses are not being built. And that means that in the future, we could be looking at potential more inventory issues. So what does that look like? Well, right now there are, as of this data, I think this was taken in September of 2022, there were 4,389 building permits. That is for Boston, Cambridge, Nashua. Excuse me. The total units, so this is permits in total, not just single family, but total permits was 16,389. New jobs was 122,700. So you can see between the single family building permits of less than 5,000 to the 122,000 new jobs created, that is very significant. So we're going to pull up this information. Just hold on one second. I want to make sure I get myself back on that screen. I have this prepared for you. So the national historic average is one single-family building permit for every 2 jobs created. That is the historic average. That is what you should expect. But in our area, it's one single-family building permit for every 28 jobs created. That is significant. I mean, that is a huge difference between the 1 to 2 ratio that we see for the national historic average. So a couple of areas we can see the Phoenix Scottsdale, they have one building permit for 4 jobs created. Atlanta, one for every 3 jobs created. Even Honolulu, you think Honolulu, it's Hawaii, you've got limited land. They have one building permit for every 21 jobs created. So we have an even potential shortage that's higher than predicted in that area. So I find that to be particularly significant. But this is just data. This doesn't necessarily guarantee that we're going to have a lot of inventory issues, but this is a sign of things potentially to come. And with that being said, I want you to think about interest rates. When we are looking at interest rates have gone up and it's going to fluctuate for the foreseeable future. But so many people have locked in at 2-3%. Those people who have locked in, they are going to be less likely to move. So we're still potentially seeing issues with inventory in the future. So if you have any questions about how this impacts you, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to chat with you at any time. Going to wrap up that topic right now, and we're going to look into our 2 new listings of the day. So in the spirit of having a very low inventory, we have a low volume of houses to review today. We're starting with 8 Primrose Lane in Millbury. So here's a 4-bed, 2.5-bath home listed for $625,000, 1,800 square feet. That's interesting how they did the tile. It runs across the floor and then runs up the wall. Very interesting. Okay. So they definitely like the tile work around this house. Looks like somebody learned to tile and they just went to town on the whole house. You can see it all over. Good for them. So $625 for Millbury. I mean, that's kind of pricey in general for the town, but in recent years we have been able to justify those prices. If you go back a couple years, there's no way that this house would have appraised. But in today's market, in today's climate, you might be able to get the comps to justify it. Oh, and it's got that gorgeous in-ground pool too. So that certainly helps. Very nice. We have one more listing to look at today before we wrap things up. We had a very brief session today. We have 10 Allison Circle in Worcester. That's cute. Oh, that's a big staircase. Okay. So it's a Cape home that's really kind of raised up. Okay. Inside, I would say about average finishings, but for $400,000 in Worcester, I mean, I think this is kind of what we're expecting. Prices have gone way up in Worcester in recent years. And this is going to be basic, as basic as you're going to get. A lot of white. Oh. So it's a Cape. Oh, wow. So it does come uphill a ways, and it does have this dormer up here. So you've got the tall ceilings upstairs. That's a decent home. Not bad. I just want to get it on the map for you before we wrap things up for today. And this is off of Burncoat. So that's like right by West Boylston. I was like practically West Boylston. I mean, you might as well be West Boylston at that point. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Joseph Romeo at RomeoRealEstate.Live and Remax Executive Realty. We're going to be here every single day. I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful